on my way to meet up with Harold Diamond to get my ass kicked. No, really, I hope that's not what it's about. It's not what I planned for it to be about, but Harold can be quite intense. So, I don't know, I've just got to be open to what comes. But regardless, I'm looking forward to this. It's, I don't know, it feels like it's been a long time in the coming where I've been wanting to sit down with him and get his story. The guy's a legend in the mixed martial arts world. Filmed in the Rambo 3 movie with Sylvester Stallone, a very famous 3-minute ass kicking that he laid on Sly before Sly came back and beat him in the end. Anyways.
That they would do better, and it was always a big mistake.
Can you see the screen?
Yeah, I see it.
Is it facing right on Harold?
Yes, but
I want to make sure I want to make sure I
take a
capture
seat.
Harold
Yeah.
and Juan in the picture.
Oh, you want me to sit there?
Take a
Yes,
seat.
absolutely.
Yeah, and here I got good light.
I don't need to be in it.
Goobar.
Is the mic on top?
Have you guys
Yeah.
ever eaten at the Wheat Cafe?
No, but I've heard of it.
It's really good, all natural, everything's all natural.
I like all natural nature, boy.
Gosh,
Some more research. I didn't know that that was the nickname that you were given.
I think it's because I had overalls.
Blue jeans?
When I would work the corners, I'm gonna fight that night, right? And I would come out like with my red or orange overalls to work the corner, because that's what I'd be wearing back in the dressing room just to relax. So I think that's where the nature boy thing, and also I had, my father was the greatest nutritionist, one of the greatest nutritionists of his day. He knew John Ott, he knew Udo Erasmus, he knew Ann Wigmore, he knew Charlotte Gerson, Max Gerson's daughter, and they would all call him up for advice.
The you know, you had the whole thing going on. Your dad was like a total naturalist, health guru, and then you wore your blue jean overalls into the ring, and then you had the long hair.
I wore them in the corner. I didn't wear them when I was about to fight. I'd have a beautiful blue robe with diamond white terry cloth here. You know, just me knowing that the world of kickboxing was just so nothing. And I did it, and I was extremely successful. I was the winningest contact fighter in 11 straight tournaments in a row. No, even Howard Jackson, who was the #1 in the world, could say that he had won 11 straight pro fights in a pro tournaments in a row. See, a pro tournament means you fought 6 times, 8 times, 7 times. Because if you think about it, if there's 500 guys in the division, after the first round, there's 250 guys. Then there's, then there's 170, then there's, and it just keeps coming down like that. And a lot of times in contact, and since you're fighting on concrete, a lot of guys that would win couldn't go on into the next round because they had taken some kind of an injury. But fortunately, I didn't take many injuries. The worst injury I ever took was I was working the mitts on a girl who's weaving underneath me, and she came up and she shattered my cheekbone. And then that's like one of the few fights I ever lost. The next fight after that, I got hit here and it cut, and the fight was stopped, and I lost.
I did a bit of research, and there's a lot of people out there that regard you as being like one of the top pioneers for making kickboxing what it is in America today. What I'm interested in is like what got you involved in it, what drove you to want to learn that discipline, and the host of others that you know. Like what got you onto that track? Because I mean, what you do is an intense way of living.
After doing karate,
So you started with karate first.
Shotokan. as ridiculously basic, stepping off the back leg, throw a punch, and then you block it and counter, and all those silly movements. But being able to get involved in wrestling, professional wrestling, those guys like Luthez and Strangler Lewis and all those guys, they were real, those cauliflower ears, they were real catch wrestlers. And they would hold you down in a hold and say, now you see? And they grind your, I got, You know, Dan Gable and all those great wrestlers. Dan Gable had hands, I have incredibly strong hands, but Dan Gable could take apples like this. So people would say when he would grab them, the shock of pain, just by him grabbing.
How did you develop that strength? Is there anything that you did?
I've shown what I call rock climbers, sand training, but rock climbers. You take I can take like you see me take a 45-pound plate and I pick it up with just these fingers. And then you start doing them all. And pretty soon, you get hamstring. Because see, this is really hard. That is really hard. If you developed your fingers. Now, for a little girl, I put her on her stomach and just have her support herself like that. If she could come up, a little boy, and they start to get a little hamstring. Nothing hard, no push-up, nothing like that. But just support themselves on their fingertips.
What about, I've never done it myself. My brother introduced it to me though years ago. He was the fighter in our family. But he had buckets that he would set up, and he started off with sand, and then he moved up to like different sized pebbles. Is that something that is actually quite common, or was that just his like stupid weird thing?
I've seen that. I've never gone to pebbles.
I mean, I understood the concept.
I've never gone to pebbles.
Yeah, like different sized stones.
That would, I don't know. What I did used to do at the Kendall Mall when I started my first school, I was first teaching at my apartment complex, and inside the gym, they had one of those fat rollers, and the wood was like, you know, it's like a waved pieces of wood, right? And it would go around, and women would sit on it. What I would do is I would put my fingers on it and turn the machine on. And pretty soon, my fingertips would get a little blood blister, then it would go away, and pretty soon I had fingers of, I could break a brick, I could hold a brick like this with one finger and break a brick with one finger, a red brick, you know, not like hitting it against something so it breaks as I hit it.
So it makes me think right away, just for being able to put in the time to learn that one technique, which is one of many that you have. How many hours would you say back in your heyday, like at the most of where you were putting in like daily training, how many hours would you put in a day?
I don't think I ever stopped because I was training somebody.
Yeah.
And when you're training people, you're having to demonstrate it.
You're learning as you're demonstrating.
And I would take James Waring, Rick Cook, Tony Palmore. I would take 5 of the greatest fighters in the world who happened to be my students. And when I'm training for a fight, this is what I would do with each of them. We'd spar. They would have to say, okay, Harold. And I would bring the next guy out. No break. Until pretty soon my shoulders, you understand your shoulders are the first things that go. I'm constantly like this, and constantly, and the next guy, and I would go through them sometimes a round table again. And they would think, they'd be sitting there like this, I'll get him next time because he's going to be dead next time. I'm not saying I wasn't, but by defeating myself in the gym, you saw me in every fight like this, holding the rope like this in between the rounds, standing up. So here's the guy over in the corner like this. And he's looking over at me going, and he's looking at me like this, holding the rope like this. Which is, I'm sure, very disheartening. But that's the kind of shape that I was in for any world title fight.
But that was something that was consistent with you from a young age. You were always like energetic, athletic from a very young age. So it was something that you just continuously built. Is that not right?
Yes, but I think once I was in a ring, I realized that conditioning is probably like a guy can be from Chiang Mai and only know knees. And you can have a million techniques and he can just keep coming in, grabbing your head, throwing knees, and he can be, that's all he knows is knees. Because he's conditioned to just take whatever you got, walk through you, and try to smash you with knees. But people don't understand this. And it's trainers' faults too. Because you go like this, like I'll have you, first of all, trainers are playing patty kick. Pop, 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 pop. They don't make you learn to throw an overhand right from there. But they should, because you'll learn to understand distance. But okay, I'm playing patty cake with you. Every time you move over there, you know what they do? They bring you back to here. Instead of them turning to you, so you get used to, now you function from there, or you function from over there. And they would turn to you, they bring you back to center. So you practice that enough, and what do you think your habits are going to be after the first couple years of training? You're going to always come back to center to get your butt beat. When I was supposed to be Tong Po in the movie Kickboxer, and they put Michelle in the ring with me and for a photo shoot, and he punched me, and so I hit him back and kicked him. And then they said the next day they're going to go with an Asian. They went with Mohammed Queasy, who was Van Damme's really good friend, as Tong Po, and they fired me after working on the film for a year and a half. That was my idea, with the glass, with the hemp. They had me sit here for I don't know how many castings, and guys would come in and go, I'm a kickboxer. I go, no, you're not, get out. And I helped them on so many things.
Iconic film.
And then they fired me. And then they fired me.
So
I couldn't sue them because it was a non-union film.
Yeah. And in Hollywood can be quite vicious.
Well, if it was a union film, it's like, I remember they had me for Cobra, and I was supposed to be the bad guy. So they took me in the wardrobe, and I was like, wow, I get to be the bad guy in this movie Cobra. Well, then they said, no, we're going with some. I said, well, you had me for wardrobe, you had me sign a contract, and then Tony Munafo, Tony Munafo, the producer for a lot of Stallone's movies, and we had a blast in a number of places. He calls me up and says, Harold, I got your name on, a SAG complaint. I said, yeah, of course. But see, I got that money because it was a union film. And even though they didn't use me, they had to pay me. But that was a union film.
So was that the first one?
No, what was it? I don't remember. I did so many movies. in Hawaii. Now this is how I, like when I lived in Hawaii, I
Wait.
got to know Tom Selleck really well.
Oh yeah.
And I would go all the way down to the Outrigger Club, and we would hang out together. And he says, Harold, you know, he put me like in about 3 episodes. One time as a dancer, because I can dance on the dance floor. I can take it. And you know, I have people screaming. It's been the great passport when I traveled the world of making friends. You think it would be fighting? It was dancing. It was dancing. I'd make friends, and people, I buy you more drinks here. Take that. I don't drink. You guys, let me have a soda water or whatever. But thank you. And so he told me, you got to go to New York or LA. So my poor pops just gets out there. He's been there now in Hawaii for 2 years. I've been there for over 4.5 years. And I go, Dad, we got to go back to California. He's like, okay, baby.
Was he retired at that point?
Yeah. I mean, I was the breadwinner in my
Yeah.
family since I was a kid. I was the one that made
Come back now.
I was the one that made the money. Always.
Cheers. Sure.
All good.
So Harold, would you say that 3-minute ass kicking? I mean, it was a 3-minute on film ass kicking. I know that scene went a lot longer in Rambo 3, but was that your would that be your say biggest on scene?
I thought it was going to change my life.
Yeah.
I thought from then on, because I brought realism to a fight scene. It wasn't you see any of the fight scenes that I do in the lowest budget movies, Killing American Style, any of those movies, you see realism. You know, I'm holding a guy under the water in a triangle, and you see me holding him there, big Rob Zadar with his giant jaw, and I hold him there till he drowns. Because it is kind of unbelievable that Sly would have been able to beat me with his basic, but it looked great.
It did.
And what he wanted was he wanted me to hit him. And one of the things, the stick came back, he gave him a big old
You cracked him.
hematoma,
You got him.
and he went like this. And he pressed that thing down so he could keep shooting. Tough.
Got it.
You know what the thing
Authentic.
is? We would be at like a book signing or something, and since he was hard of hearing, he would go like, Harold, did you see that girl with her gung gung bang gung gung gung? And I'm like, Lou, you know there are children here. He had no filter.
No filter. No. I can see that. I can imagine.
But that one scene, Lou, come on, one more. No, Daddy, I can't do it, Daddy. And then he does one more. Come on, Lou, one more. You gotta beat Arnie. Okay. I mean, that scene is so precious in Pumping Iron.
It is. Yeah. What a classic film.
But, you know, you couldn't beat Arnold because he was Weeder's boy. I'm not saying he didn't look good, but his legs were, like, to me, Sergio Oliva looked so much better than him.
I think most people who know the sport would have said that Sergio was the...
Wasn't even close.
Yeah.
But did you ever hear that Sergio said that he had a brother bigger than him
No.
in Cuba? Yep.
Arnold has the talk. We know that, right? He knew how to promote the sport.
Right,
So
and
it was.
he was Weeder's boy.
Yeah. And that's why.
I loved anything new that would come out. It became a Weeder principle. I love that. Any kind of supplement, any rotation, anything, it became a Weeder.
Okay, so with the masses, for example, if I knew like 10 people who I said that, hey, you guys want to do some training with, connect with Harold and Juan, Could they do like? I guess they could do like a all tune in for the same Zoom session, right?
I learned more with him about movement, offense, defense, angles than I did my whole life. He was practicing different arts, like Kongo-Do, Hapkido, karate, even Kung Fu. Kongo-Do is the greatest art on earth as far as really learning how to defend.
All
and attack.
encompassing. All encompassing.
The ground game, the wrestling, the boxing, the weapons is so much fun. The way we met, it was crazy because I was just walking on the street and I saw him training someone, and I saw his style was different. And then I asked him again who he was, and the lady at the front also said, "Oh, that's the guy from Rambo 3, the stick fighter." And it just really stuck out because when I was 6 years old, I watched a scene and I fell in love with it. I watched it a million times. Me and my cousins, we would watch it over and over. And then I didn't see him for months because I was traveling through the country. And then next time I saw him, then he looked quite different. He had lost a lot of weight. Looked like he had aged. And I just went up to him and we started talking, and I said, "Hey, I'll train with you." Did a few sessions, and I knew he was there when we trained, but something had happened, and then just became friends and helped him out, and he had gone through a rough patch, and just like we all do in life at some point, some more than others, and he had lost so much weight that we just focused on his nutrition, getting his house back together. When I saw his house, I'm like, "This is where you live." There was weeds that had taken over entire property, and the pool was completely taken over by frogs and animals, and we cleaned it all
Which I
up.
really liked.
You loved it.
I liked because I was able to go get some buckets of water and bring it in and cook it, and you know, I mean, I was
He was
surviving.
living like a caveman. But anyway,
So
we cleaned it up pretty good.
I'm curious, Harold. At that point where Juan, caught up with you again, do you mind sharing? Like, I mean, for someone that's as intense with you, I mean, there's very few individuals like you. You're in your own category as far as your devotion to your discipline throughout your life. And so, with a lot of people like that, usually we get very, I would say rigid, but we get very like centered within our own track, and we're on the same habit. Your nutrition is free. So, what do you think pulled you away from what had been working for you up to that point?
Getting thrown in jail.
Okay, I can do
5
it.
days.
Yeah.
But that was the icing on the cake. He was a broken heart. His ex-girlfriend did some stuff to him, and
Teens, early 20s. I read a lot at that period, like a lot, way more than I do now. But there were a few books that came my way that they resonated with me, It was that book, Khalil Gibran's The Prophet. I made my first son after him. That book I read it 20 times within 6 months, easy. I mean, it was a short book. So was the Book of Five Rings. Book of Five Rings is like 200 pages.
It's a very small book.
But so much information,
Even though I completely disagree with the Bushido concept.
Right.
Completely. What? You mean your sister or someone in your family did something to disgrace you, so you have to pay for it
Yes.
because of the Bushido code? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Agreed.
No.
Yeah.
No. But who was it? The famous guy that they had to actually enter his dwelling because he had somebody have him beheaded, and all of his acolytes were going to continue to do the same, and they had to break in and stop that from happening. Whoever that guy that wanted to bring back the Japan World War II concept.
I don't know who that is.
I don't remember the name now, but they had to literally stop the beheadings. But see, I think what the modernization of the world has got to be imbalance, and it's not way out of balance. The pharmaceuticals, these big multinational corporations, they are destroying the world, and we're raising children on cell phones so bad. And
I had a conversation with one of my best friends earlier today when he was at the gym and you guys were training. And it's been a while since I've caught up there. And we've known each other for 30 years. And I said, how's everything going? Because when I left, she was, having some difficulties with her two younger daughters. They're like 9 and 13, 9 and 12, so at that age. And she's just recently going through a divorce. Anyways, she that was pretty good. And her one daughter's been good. And then I heard her daughter come in as I'm on the phone to her. Long story short, her daughter's having a meltdown, and I'm sitting going, what the fuck? And she's like, oh, it's because of her phone. Like, she left it somewhere, she wants me to go and get, and it was all about, like, literally, into our whole discussion for the next 10 minutes, while her daughter was having the meltdown, knowing that she was talking to me on the phone, because she would not, could not cope, and it's like, and so my friend was saying, no, it's literally like she's hooked on crack cocaine. She's hooked. I guess what I'm talking about is the
world.
Yes. Yeah. The ones who are really tied in with the consumerism market, the ones who support, I journaled this today, the ones who support, who know full well that there was some shit that went on with the whole COVID pandemic, and yet they're fully supportive of the narrative that is sold, and they're on board. It's like, no, I'm going to continue to get my boosters, and that's it. And it's like, it's a hard one for me to swallow, in life. I wanna.
We can only do this, right? What we're doing. All you can do is what you can, because we'll change the world in our little way, and who knows, it might be a really big way. See, that's the thing. We can't. Because you get depressed, and there's no reason to ever be depressed.
No, there's not. No, that doesn't help at all. It's also
deterrent.
what I see a lot of people doing is that they refuse to actually look at what's in front of them, and they bury their heads in the sand because it's so much easier than to acknowledge what's actually in front of you. To not just to acknowledge, but to say, I acknowledge it. Not to say that I accept it, but I accept where I am at within it,
right,
knowing what I can do.
And I want to talk about this on health and wellness. They have these silver bullets and all this. Well, that's fine, but where is poison stored?
Fat tissue.
What?
Fat tissue.
Yeah. So where's the fat in a fruit?
Fat in a what?
In fruit, like an apple.
I don't know.
In the skin.
Yeah, of course. Okay.
So if it's not organically grown, you're grinding all of that, whatever bad thing is in the ecosystem, into your juice.
That's why I try and peel most of my vegetables and fruits.
Good, but I'm just saying. But you can easily get naturally grown things.
Well, you say easily, but
okay, you're right. But you're right. You should probably peel it before, And what has happened to corn? Oh my God, it's the most genetically
modified,
re-engineered food in the world. Soy. I love organic soy milk. Organic. Okay. So soy has got what? The greatest enzyme inhibitor of any grain, nut, or seed. So no matter how much protein is in it, your body can't assimilate that protein. It just can't work. But we think it can.
Well, people think it can because you've got ambassadors out there who are promoting.
Because they're selling.
Yeah, it's Arnold. He's he's huge. He's got massive shares in the meat, fake burger shit, all that, right? And I'm like, people are literally getting pushed off. But I guess if you were someone that's sitting at the control panel and going, we got 8 billion people on this planet, we're like raking our oceans, we're just, how do we feed everybody? What do? Do we cut everybody off? we are privileged. For those who can eat to the quality that we do, we're privileged and fortunate.
But you also realize they could easily make staggered water crops with spirulina, blue-green algae, and feed the world easily
With that.
with high-quality protein.
And the studies that they've done, just with the African continent, excluding the desert, just in 1/3 of Africa, the studies they've done, you could create more food for 5 times the current world population.
Yeah.
So
We have the means.
I
technically.
We have the
totally,
means.
I
We
totally
just
get
don't
what you're
have
saying.
to.
I mean,
we,
South America,
We don't have the will though.
South America, just like here, it's so fertile. But the
Well,
agenda is a bit
I think
different.
a lot of
I
it
don't
has
wanna
to do
talk
with the
about
people
that.
that are running the show.
Yeah.
They don't care. They don't care that it's like this one guy who I thought I was going to have trouble with because he was like, hey man, he's like wearing this like African thing, but when we talked, he realized everything I said about Bill Wallace never being able to fight me with leg kicks, and that they changed the rules for Bill Wallace and all that kind of stuff. This guy, when he finally talked to me, I said, you know, you talk about all lives matter. I said, no. I said, all good lives matter. But there's a whole lot of lives out there that shouldn't matter at all. The people that are raping us, the people that are raping this earth and our cultures, their lives should not matter as much. I said, all good lives matter.
You know what that makes me think of, Harold, when you say that? It makes me think of the amount of times that I heard growing up by people say, oh, don't worry, karma they'll get
Oh,
theirs.
I
And I'm
hate
like,
karma.
I'm like, who dishes karma out? Who's the one that dishes the karma out? Because I know a lot of people, not say a lot of people like
That have lived great lives.
Yeah,
Go ahead, say it.
who do nasty things.
Yes.
And they live great life. They're happy doing what they're doing.
And they will die happy. Their children are all going to have great lives and control the karma. It's like when you pull your little daughter in or your son and go, okay, don't worry about that bully because he'll get what he deserves. And the little kid, as the years go by, go, no, he's not getting anything that he deserves. And
Next life.
yeah, and what, exactly that whole karmic consciousness that in a next life you're going to pay for something you never knew that you did. You can't tell your children that life is fair. You can't tell anyone that life is fair.
Nope.
Life is life. Do what you think is good, and that's all you can do. Life is life. Do what you think is good, and that's all you can do.
I think that was another strategically positioned principle that was put in place years ago, again, to take away people's power. Because you're giving it to something else to say, oh, you know what, and then it just makes people complacent and idle.
It's like confessions. Confessions were made so they could find when the church was starting to lose its popularity, they started confessions. So in every town, in every country, they found out the dirt on everyone. They found out that the mayor's daughter had. So see, they had control over the powerful.
Hell yeah. Like that
by
was the
making confessions.
Yeah.
And you're going to go there and pour. Say 7. How many Hail Marys do I have to say? Okay, but my husband has done such and such, and I was with the gardener. Whatever. But by doing that, the church controls the town.
Now that's an empire that we can talk about. And generals that were in the Holy Roman Empire became bishops of the Holy Roman Church. Like overnight. People in positions of power. And for 1,500 years, I mean, that's been like the predominant power structure within the world. 1,500 years. And think about the darkness that it brought with it, though.
And that they could rape children. and it's known that they did, but they weren't prosecuted. They were moved to another parish somewhere else for a year, and then maybe after a year they were moved back. The sexual urge is going to still be there. So these guys are saying, I'm going to abstain, but they don't. It's like when they found all the dead babies in in these tombs by the nuns. They were all having children, but they would put the babies, and they found all these.
Is that not just so sad?
So sad.
So sad. In the name of the
Okay,
Lord.
I don't want to get too much into it.
No.
We've had a great conversation.
Yeah.
We'll talk more later.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to get too. I'm going to get depressed,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to have to beat Juan up, and that's terrible. You know, he gets so serious. I say, you know, when you do something right, you know what you always try to do? Do it better. I said, if you just went pop, 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 you should stay with pop, 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 and just stay with it. But he goes pop, 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 and he wants to like make 17 more moves. Just stay with it, right? Am I wrong?
That was true.
As we trained bodybuilding for so many years and competed, and I did 16 shows and all that, but we work out 45 minutes to 2 hours. His workouts are 20, 30 minutes, and they're absolutely incredible. The way you get the pump, the blood in the muscle, and you train with isolating one side at a time and hitting it and hitting it and hitting it, instead of doing left and right. It's like he left and left and left and take a break and then right. And then how he says diamondizing me.
Now, you know, my art, I have to say this, it will never stop getting better until I pass. And then hopefully any of you guys will continue the ideas of what can we do to make this better. I don't know whether you've noticed that I can stay so relaxed under extreme conditions.
I haven't seen you under extreme conditions yet.
Well, I'm just telling you, you've known that I've fought against the greatest fighters on the planet.
Yeah, there will be no question in my mind that you have to be relaxed.
And you never saw me pacing. You know what I was doing before a fight? Always. And then I asked them to wake me up 15 minutes before I had to go for my walk. I'd warm up, I'd hit a couple pads, good to go, let's go win the world title again. And I think it's really important to understand that we, as people, take life as a system instead of as life. Now what I mean by that is this. If you're doing something, if you're able to react logically under stress, you realize how that's going to carry over into everything you do for the rest of your life. If you never get to a fight as long as you live. But if you're able to react logically under stress, that's going to carry over into our lives. So that's why fight training is really good if you never get in a fight as long as you live. But if you can react logically under stress, that will starburst into everything, into absolutely everything.
So we've touched on a couple of things. We touched on karma, which is Buddhism, and we just touched on Catholicism, which we'll steer clear of right now. Although there is a rise right now in Christianity and Catholicism in the West. Is there any rituals or any? Is there any?
I like pagan rituals. I like pagan rituals.
You pagan? Would you consider yourself like a pagan Wiccan?
My mom was full-blooded native. But see, like I said, that slapper,
Yeah.
we should put copper in it. Because copper and silver are two great conduits of energy. And they've been used by pagans. You know, it's like, gee, Christmas? Let me think. It's a pagan holiday.
Of course.
It's not. That's not when Christ was born or had anything to do. Not even close. But it's a pagan holiday.
Rising of the sun.
The winter solstice. But silver, copper. You know, I have those socks that are copper infused, and you have more and more of an understanding of these things. Light optics, understanding all of these things that help us. You know, the first thing you do when you wake up, go outside and look, and that's what. Take your sunglasses off. You know, I've never had a drink in my life.
Like one.
I've tasted drinks and gone, oh, that's great. Oh God, that's great.
It's actually, it's true. I mean, I think back to the first times I drank alcohol when I was a kid. Yeah, it all tasted like shit.
Dr. Amen, he's one of the greatest psychiatrists right now, and he's got quite a voice on social media. He just posted this a couple of days ago, just talking about that. He said, we've been led to believe that wine once a day or whatever is good for you.
Yeah, I love that one.
And some alcohol is good for you, it lowers your blood pressure.
Oh.
But it's straight up poison. This is all fake studies. Even he said a couple of days ago.
Did he?
Said it.
You know what? I disagree with that. Only because I've been giving it a lot of thought in the last few days, because it came up somewhere else where I don't know if it was Andrew Huberman, who's got a pretty big following right now. He's big out there in the world. It was Andrew Huberman, and he was just on Joe Rogan. And I think it depends on the situation. It's like no different than that shit that what's her name gives people, like frog poison. You know, to
Campbell.
Like there's a time for poisons in your life if it's administered properly, right? So anybody, I think that person who, like my dad used to have this much red wine every night. And I think for my dad, I think that the benefits that it gave him as far as, you know, relaxing, I think overall, if you weigh it out.
I agree, but this is the whole thing.
No, people take it to the nth degree.
That's what I'm saying.
And they have
that's
2-3 drinks
that's what I'm
and
saying.
beyond. That's yes.
And when they're happy, they drink a lot more. And when they're sad, they drink a lot more. And when there's a party, they're going to drink a lot more. And then, so they don't just do that moderation. Everything, you know, a bee venom, taking a little bit, is really good for you. Unless you're allergic to it. But you'll find that out right away. But, you know, I was mad at my father when I found out we had all those beehives and all we did was collect the royal jelly and the raw honey and the propolis and all that kind of stuff. Whereas we could have had machines that, you know, freeze dry and we could have made, over a year you make like $1 million. And I knew a guy, I went down into his basement and all he had was black widows and these things, and he'd have these machines, and, you know, because they pay so much for the venom.
Yeah. And where did he learn his trade from? Just reading.
Yeah.
Read.
You know, there are these books called Worlds in Collision, Worlds in Upheavals. You know this?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Not many people know this. Emmanuel Velikovsky.
Yes.
And it's in the fiction section.
Yeah.
And this man was such a genius that he showed that all over the globe, when the planets were closer, one was the fire dragon, another culture it was something else. But he showed how it correlated when the planets were too close, and it caused this huge world in upheaval. All these volcanoes and all this, and the world went dark.
It's a cycle.
But this man was such a genius, and he correlated it all together. And he's in the fiction section.
Plate shifts everything, and for about 10 years he was actually, people were listening to him, but then they buried him.
They buried him.
They had to. I understand why now. I didn't. My mom introduced me to Velikovsky when I was a child kid.
Wow.
So she introduced me to the greats, like books that just blew my freaking mind. A lot of.
How about Udo? Udo Erasmus, the Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill.
Yeah.
Now he sold out completely, and
Yeah,
my father would go to the Whole Foods and say, Udo oil is not good for you. It's not made without light and without oxygen. Bob Wahlberg, he makes it with an inert gas with a black capsule or a black bottle. So your flaxseed, your barrage oil, whatever it is made, and you taste it, and it's sweet. Whereas the Udo oil, complete fake. Because light and oxygen, these oils are so unstable, you can't put it into an opaque capsule. Like fish oil, that's the biggest billion-dollar bunch of nonsense in the world.
Because it's degraded. It's already.
You can't make it. You can't and put it in the body
So
without
what
it becoming
what oils
rancid.
can you make? What oil besides, like we talked about this the other day? Besides like olive oil, like extra virgin. You know,
Well,
like
I'm
a really
saying,
good quality olive oil.
but I'm saying all the oils that I talked about, flax, barrage, all of it have to be made with the omega flow process in a black capsule or a black bottle, and you can see them being sold like that.
In a black capsule or a black bottle, and then you know you got a good product. Then if you see that too, most likely you know it's a company who's going to every length to make sure.
Yes, but make sure that you do your research, because some of the companies put in a black bottle, but it's not made correctly.
Okay. I do know that the Udo's bottles were always dark, but they were like dark, but they weren't black.
Right.
No.
He sold out. The Bible on it.
Don't worry, Udo. We're gonna cut this out. We're not gonna post it.
Okay. And we're talking bad about me.
Well, I know Udo, so I'm not.
Maybe the quality of his stuff is good now. I don't have the foggiest idea. But my father was really upset that the guy that wrote the Bible on the subject sold out.
Yeah.
To Spectrum.
Yeah.
To Spectrum. Okay, are we ready?
Yeah, we're good. We'll go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
so much.
That was awesome.
Good job.
I want to get 5 minutes of you working on that spot, me on my back, but I really want to show. I want to show the world how I heal.
Kongo-Do healing.
Just
Kongo-Do healing.
You're a healer, man. You're not.
See, I feel something here. What is that?
That's probably like a slippage a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
Right? It's.
You know, when I said I feel it, I saw it, even though it's not visible to the eye. Oof. A little something for your spine. Oh, there we go. Trying to move it away from your spine. Not move it towards your spine, move it away from the spine. See, right away you see that there's a buildup here.
Yes, I see it.
See?
Yeah.
But definitely easily doable to take care of it. Deep breath. Let her go nice and relaxed. Okay, another one. I think we got it on the very first one.
You did.
Yep.
That was sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you. Yeah.
Now I do a 2 kick. I start from here and then turn it over.
So it's
It's like
It
a
looks
sight.
like a 2. You understand?
Yeah.
It looks like a 2. Nobody's ever done that
But
before.
you're keeping the flow going.
Of course. See, I'm coming from here, coming over, and now I'm in position to do something else if I needed to do it. But usually that's gonna, you know, after you're smashing someone in the legs and then you do that move, that's the neck. It's usually good night, Irene. I step to kick someone. Put your hands up. As I step, which is taught in all these martial arts, or I switch step, if he throws a punch as I step, I just got knocked out. Or not, I got hit. So instead of stepping direct, I step to an angle. Here, now watch.
Right.
And notice when I land the kick, watch my rear hand. See, it's part of the kick instead of this, which is how everyone else does it. But see, if it's part of the kick, then it's there to do something else, to do something. Look, I did a rising elbow that time. I've made more angles on the world-class concepts of boxing, MMA, Thai boxing. Angles. Like 4 angles with his front hand. Do it slow. Bum, 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 bum. Whoa. See 4 different angles. And you notice on the 4th one, he drops his head a little there. So what do I have to hit? Basically nothing. Now what I would teach someone as I'm getting hit here is to pivot off here. Now I could counter. But if I stay here, I have nothing to counter with. When one isn't working, the other works. See, if he defends against this, do it smarter with your rear hand. Now, and now I just changed the angle. His hand was completely down, and I knew it would be down because I have an angle to go to. If I wanted to hit, not say, let's say with a back knuckle strike, but a 4 knuckle strike. What is that? Put your hands like this. See, a 4 knuckle goes in straight. And that's very light, but you could see it would knock his teeth out. Because it's a 4 knuckle strike. But if I bend my wrist like this, oh, there would be a breakage. So I really have to practice it a lot until I'm comfortable with it. He's defending against all this stuff. Look. Now look. He's able to throw a right to my body or an upper. How about up? Look at your angle. Yeah. Oh, that's the floating ribs. That's the spleen on this side, the broken ribs here. Now, if he didn't do that, if he stayed here, you understand? As I drop this, he would try to throw this right uppercut. But see, I'm in great position to keep fighting. But by him stepping over slightly, he puts himself in much better position. Okay, so using the sticks, 1 up, 1 down, striking, you have the basics like punching strikes. But what makes ours different is it's not a swing. It's a snap. Snap, 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 snap.
Go.
Okay, so using a knife, a bladed instrument, which I am of course, well versed in. Why would I want the blade here if he's standing there with a weapon like this? Well, I can certainly stab him this way, but rising up, going across, and now he's going to throw some strikes at me, and I'm not going to move. Go through with it. Go through with it. Yeah. You gotta try to. Yeah. And anytime I want, I can be striking. Anytime I would choose. But I keep that good angle, just like I teach good angle for stand-up, and I don't get hurt. That was 3 strikes with a block here at the end, ending up at a vital area. And when I throw 3, impossible to defend. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the diamond way. From the emptiness we come, to the emptiness we go. Our life is but a spark in the night. Our death, but a setting of the sun. Since both heaven and earth's beginning, this has been the way. What then is the cause of fear?
The diamond way.